everyone, James, Fit RV, and I'm back. So, gonna take you through what I've been working on lately, and what I've been working on are ways to make the cassette less conspicuous. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can dump a cassette toilet anywhere, right? And I realize that maybe people probably aren't paying attention, but sometimes when you're trying to get the cassette someplace to dump it, it kind of feels like you're attracting a little bit of attention.
That's right. I'm entering this restroom with 5 gallons of human excrement.
All right, well, maybe it's not quite that bad, but it does kind of sometimes feel like it attracts a little bit of attention, especially when you're trying to be inconspicuous about it. So, all right, let's do something about the way it looks, I thought. When it's ready to roll, you know, it kind of already looks like a piece of luggage. So I thought, well, why not? Let's just make it look a lot more like a piece of luggage, because nobody pays attention to luggage. That's not going to attract any attention. And so those of you who follow our social media will have already seen that I made this. Now what this is, I'm calling it a Cassette Koozie, I guess. It is a cover that folds down and it covers up the cassette to make it look like a piece of luggage. So the way it works, so I had no pattern to go from. I just kind of measured up the cassette, you know, and sat down and had some extra canvas and sewed it up, and I kept kind of adjusting things as I went, and eventually I got something that is sort of workable. Here's how it works. So you get it ready to roll like that, then you take the Cassette Koozie and we just drop it down over the top, and the handle will come out the top. Okay, then there's this long flap that kind of rolls around underneath, and there's some Velcro there. And there you go. Now, with this, it kind of looks pretty close to a piece of luggage, right? If you didn't know it was a cassette, you wouldn't know it was a cassette, right? So this is just my own prototype that I made in like, you know, a couple hours. And people kind of liked it, at least on social media they did. And so we're trying to go and get some made to see if anybody wants to purchase something like this. What I like about this better than like a big suitcase or a duffel bag is you're using the cassette's own wheels. Remember, when this thing is full, it's 40 plus pounds, right, that you're gonna have to lug around. So keeping it on the wheels, that's a very good thing, as opposed to having to put it in a suitcase you gotta carry, or like Thetford makes a tote bag, you gotta put it over your shoulder. That seemed really heavy. This makes use of the wheels. If I am successful in getting someone to manufacture these for us at a reasonable price, we'll let you know. We'll put up a post, we'll put up a video saying they're available, whatever. But that's idea number 1. Take care of how it looks. Okay, idea number 2 has to do with how it sounds. And it has to do with these wheels. They're just plastic, janky wheels. And if you roll it around, I might could get it to look like a suitcase, but it doesn't at all sound like a suitcase. Like, nobody's suitcase sounds like this. No suitcase has wheels like that. Suitcases have wheels like this. Ooh, look at that. Silent running wheels, urethane wheels. So, how do we get wheels like this onto here? Well, the way these wheels are on, it just pops out. It's kind of a friction fit. And it's just this plastic wheel with no bearings of any kind. Even just rolling on there, it's kind of loudish. So that's sort of the problem. So at first I tried to do something with 3D printing, a little hub to put on there, etc. But doing it out of all 3D printed material wasn't going to work because it becomes too brittle, and then when you put 40 pounds of weight on it, it kind of snaps the 3D printed parts. So the solution to this, if we want to put actual wheels on, is to replace this axle. So here's what you're going to need in order to do this. You're going to need some wheels. Now these, I got these on Amazon. I'll put a link. These are kind of just luggage replacement wheels. You need to get wheels that are 90 millimeters in diameter, because that is the size of these. I don't want to create any fit issues, whereas this won't fit into the cassette compartment, right? 90 millimeter diameter wheels. They're kind of the same size-ish there. Now the ones I got came with these weird bearings that have sort of this extra little lump outside. That's actually a good thing, because it means I can tighten nuts up against that and it'll still roll. If you can't find that, you can get wheels that use regular, like a 608 inline skate bearing, something like that. You'll just have to kind of modify this procedure to get that to work. But I've got these, and like I said, I'll give you the link to these. The other thing you're going to need is a 6mm diameter piece of aluminum, and it came in a pack of 2. I got these off Amazon as well, so pack of 2, 6mm piece of aluminum, because that is the diameter that will snap into the cassette and hold just by friction, because this, the original part, is 6mm. So you will need a couple 3D printed parts. I'll provide the STL file, but this is all friction fit stuff, right? So if your printer settings, your material, your heat settings in your printer, all that sort of stuff, if it's different from mine, your 3D printed parts may turn out just a fraction different than mine, and that will make them not fit. These fit exactly. I'll give you the STL file, but you're on your own as far as modifying it. So, but what you need to do is have something that will register the axle into that spot right there so it doesn't slide back and forth. That's what that's for. Then, what we're going to do is we're going to cut and thread, and I've already done one end here. We're going to cut and thread the ends of the aluminum rod. I've got the dimensions here. You want the rod to be a total of 236 millimeters long, and you're going to thread 7 millimeters on each end of this. Now you're going to thread this just because this is the tap and die set I have with just regular 1/4 20 threads. That'll work with a 6mm rod. It would work better with a 1/4 inch rod, but it works fine. And then you're going to need some nuts. So let's get into all of that now, because I've only done half of this. We're going to do the other half. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, since I've already threaded that end, I'm going to cut this. I've already got it marked at 236 millimeters. All right, there we go. She's cut. Okay, so now these little, whoops. Thanks. Okay, so now these little 3D printed parts. So it's just kind of a bushing kind of looking thing, right? And you got to put 2 of them kind of on opposing ends of the rod. And I already had them on there, but I took this one off so I could show you how I did it again. Now this is pretty tight. So basically, you just, for this one, I actually had to kind of ding up my workbench. Just have to kind of push, and then it'll fit. So there we go. It just fits on like that, and it doesn't spin very readily. It has to spin less readily than this does, and that's not hard. So we don't want it spinning. The next thing we're going to do is, and I've got it marked on here. I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to use the tap and die to cut some threads in the aluminum down to that mark. Can you see the mark? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, back over to the metal bench. Here's my 1/4 20. What is that? That's the die. And so I'm just going to start threading it on like a 1/4 turn and then back. 1/4 turn, then back. 1/4 turn and back. And so on. And in a few minutes, I will have threads. Come over here. You can see little aluminum shavings curling off. Look down into the top of there. You see aluminum shavings curling off as I turn on the threads. It's kind of cool. If I've got that on far enough. I believe I do. So there we go. We've got both ends threaded now. Awesome. So next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take these wheels, and we may have to push again because it's kind of a tight fit, but get the wheels on there. And then we're going to tighten on. I've got a 1/4 inch 20, do over there, you can see it, nylon insert nut so it won't back itself off. Just to make sure I can tighten these all the way. All right, I got to get some wrenches to tighten these up. They go in opposing directions. All right, now that these are all tightened up, kind of just even with the end of the nut, you can just push these little plastic bushings out to where they hold the wheels, and it should, if I've done everything right, snap into place. Now we have a quiet rolling suitcase, but let's take it outside and do the torture test. Oh yeah. Booyah! That was way, way quieter. And you couldn't tell us, it just feels better to roll it. So, confession time, you know, even though we've had this for a number of years now, I have actually never rolled any of our cassettes anywhere except to demo that, because like rolling it down the campground, it just seems like, hey, look at me, I'm going to... Never would roll it. Now, I wouldn't mind rolling this. So between that and the Cassette Koozie. Anyway, between that and the Cassette Koozie, no one's going to give this a second look. All right, this is James from the Fit RV. We'll see you later. TSA, airport checkpoints, watch out.